بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين إلى يوم الدين ما بعد إن معه جبل خبز ونهر ماء Dajjal will control food and water reserves. As people of Iman, we have to look directly at the unseen system of Allah, but whatever is in our capacity in the external systems, we also need to prepare. When a Sahabi had no water in his orchard, in his plantation, he performed salah and asked the khadim to check, has the rain come? Has the rain come? So primarily he was farming, primarily he was using asbab. So a believer doesn't wait for things and then says, okay, what I need to do now, okay, what do I need, okay, this situation, what I should do. But he can preempt all situations asbab wise, prepare. Then when a situation happens, before that his trust was in Allah. When that incident happens, his trust in Allah. After this, trust in Allah, it doesn't waver, it doesn't move. So the Sahabi didn't wait for food or water to fall from the sky just like that from the beginning. You know what, I don't need to do farming, I don't need to do agriculture, I don't need to sustain myself. I'm just gonna read 2 rakat salah and draw from Allah's treasure. They didn't do that. So as people of Iman, we need to be checking ourselves. When the grid goes down, when power goes down, when systems crash, on the food side, what preparations have we made? What systems do we have in place? Do I have any skills of breeding livestock? Do I have any skills of gardening? Also, there is no power, so your fridge and freezer will not operate. So if you look at alternate food sources, am I going normal dried fruit, am I going canned food, am I got long life food, am I going to freeze dried food? Likewise, the greatest resource, greatest ni'mah of Allah on insan is to provide for us water. This is a great bounty of Allah. So am I evolving all the time? Am I getting better all the time, amal wise and asbab wise as well? All the skills needed for all situations, whether it is a disaster, whether it is a riot control situation, rioting, looting, etc, etc, etc. That's why he said, better a diamond with a flaw than a pebble without. Better a diamond with a flaw than a pebble without it. So when you are polished, you are a diamond, you are valuable. So we have to evaluate. Likewise, the mistakes. Am I making the same mistakes? Something happened to me previously. Am I allowing myself to be vulnerable? I've heard something happened to somebody else. Am I doing something about it? Likewise, history has shown what has happened to the Muslim Ummah and what has happened to people in different situations. Am I applying those same rules? Do I continue making the same mistakes? Or are we evolving? Somebody said, something I learned about people, if they do it once, they'll do it again. Means, by human nature, we don't take lesson, we don't change. So don't let it happen again. Learn from history, learn from the people of the past, learn from other global events. What do I need to do as an individual, as a household, as a family, as a locality, as a ward, as a district? The real strength is taking it to the last. The real strength is taking it to the last. The power of knowing what you don't know. The power of knowing what you don't know. So even what I don't know, that ilm, I need to go to the experts, I need to find out, I need to become the best. So we are hearing the bayans, we are hearing the halat, we are hearing the conditions, we are hearing about the deaths. We heard so many people dying. We've heard what has happened to this country multifold. But does it stop there? Any fool can know, but the point is, can he understand? Can he understand? So, understanding what basirat, what vision. Allah sent me for a purpose. What is my ta'alluq? What is my connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How many people of the past never recognize Allah, and what was the consequences? And if I don't recognize Allah, I've got a short time, I've got a short period, I've got short duration on earth, and I've been sent for a mission, a target. Allaamah Sulayman Nadwi rahimahullah came to Ml Thanwi rahimahullah and said, "Does it give me some advice?" So Ml Thanwi said, I was baffled, I didn't know what advice to give such a great Allama. Then Allah put this in my heart. The gist of tasawwuf is to annihilate oneself. The gist of tasawwuf is to annihilate oneself. You are nobody, you are nothing. Allah is everything. If man can create, Allah is the creator. If man knows, Allah is the most knowing. If man can see, Allah is all seeing. If man thinks of his power, Allah is all powerful. But where am I and where should I be? That's important. Not to presume I'm on haqq, I'm on the right path, I'm on Quran and Sunnah, but in reality on another page. There was a teacher trying to teach a youngster some arithmetic, maths, and she struggled and struggled. So she thought, oh boy, good example. She said, if you reach your right pocket and found a nickel, and you reach your left pocket and you found nickel, what would it be? What would it be? So the boy thought for a moment. Left pocket nickel, another pocket nickel. And he said, someone else's trousers, someone else's trousers. So where we are and where we should be, two different worlds. Likewise, Dajjal will have in his control the reserves of water. So we look at the year 2000, there were around 45,000 large dams. And this was in a period of around 40 years. So just depending on the time on the year, but 3 to 6 times the water that exists at any given time in all the world's rivers is now behind these dams, is stored behind these dams. So over time there has been around 181 conflicts, and the last 59 was in the century. So world wars were fought, small wars were fought, different wars were fought. But water is an ingredient in these wars. So 2011, 7 billion population, output globally 63 trillion per annum. And go back to 1950, 500 large dams on the planet, now 45,000. If you go back to the maths, an average of 2 large dams are constructed every day for half a century. 2 large dams every day for the last 50 years. But what's more of a concern is that the amount of water that has been impounded behind these dams and other structures has quadrupled from 1960, in the last plus 60, 70 years, and the withdrawals on the surface water has doubled. So globally around 3,800 kilometer cube of fresh water is extracted from aquatic ecosystems. Now if we had to calculate this amount of water, it will be equivalent to the Nile River flowing for approximately 43 years. And more than half of this water is not returned to the watersheds. So we've got all angles shortage. So we're saying around 60% of the world's major water courses have been dammed. And with the withdrawals from the surface and groundwater. So stats say that around 25% of the world's river basins run dry before reaching the oceans. 25% of the world's river basins run dry before reaching the oceans. So great demand and less supply. So the experts have categorized water scarcity from low to severe. So this is for over 400 river basins, which account for around 69% of the global runoffs, 75% of the world's irrigated land and area, 65% of the world population. So when researchers did studies on 50% of the basin, there was a severe water scarcity during at least 1 month of the year, which influenced and impacted around 2.7 billion people. But in 35 of these basins, there was a water scarcity of at least half the year, which impacted around 500 million people. So we can see clearly that the global impact on a global scale on the ecosystem and the water scarcity, water is getting less. So 1/3 of the world's 177 large rivers, which a large river is considered over 1,000 kilometers in length. So they are free flowing from source to mouth. So only 21 have a direct connection to the sea. Only 21 have a direct connection to the sea. So because of this, La ilaha illallah, one is our amal, and amalukum umalukum. Our amal will decide our future, our destiny. Our amal will decide what's going to happen. Our amal will decide our future. Our amal will decide halat and conditions. So we need to be vigilant and make sure that we don't perpetrate any amal which will draw the wrath of Allah. Floods, Australia, 200,000 people. Floods, Pakistan, 18.1 million people affected. Damages 9.5 billion. So different halat, different conditions that are coming, and these consequences are based on our amal, on our deeds. And this has caused serious water conflicts as well, where the water supply is minimum, and it was a result of these situations that we've seen. Syria, Turkey, Iraq, they share in the Euphrates and the Tigris River. So these river basins, Israel, Jordan, Palestine, Jordan River, Dead Sea, then Israel and Palestine, the groundwater aquifers, the aquifers of the occupied territories. If you look at it, there's restrictions. The Palestinians are suffering. Then Jordan and Saudi Arabia, Al-Disi, aquifer. Syria, Jordan, Yarmouk River. Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia, Nile River with other countries as well. Iran and Afghanistan, Hirmand River. So this is a national concern, and these conflicts have started many due to war. So in 2002, Lebanon started the infrastructure to connect 60 communities to running water, and they supplied around 10,000 cube of water just for domestic purposes. That's 3.65 million cubic meters a year. So the Israelis said that was a unilateral Lebanese act which was in violation of international law and a threat to the water security of the country. So there was a 1953 plan which granted Lebanon 35 million cubic meters of Jordan, and if we see the same situation for Israel as well, where they have blocked the Palestinians from even using water wells, making channels from any major streams, etc. And the state entity has set up a structure which will support water only for the Israelis, not for the Palestinians. So because this is so serious, major governments of the world are discussing the water shortage and seeing what can be done to make sure that the casualties of the situation are not serious. So the Nile Basin Initiative, which was covered in 10 countries, that was done. Then if you go to the different water resources and different conflicts, then you will see that this has caused major wars, this caused a major ikhtilaf, and there is serious consequences. So we need to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show us the straight path and guide us to Sirat Mustaqim. The amal for today is that the Jews riwayat of Aisha radiyallahu anha in Musnad Ahmad, that Nabi alayhi salam said that they are not so envious of us with regards to anything as they are with the Jumu'ah, number 1, number 2 the Qibla, and number 3 saying Ameen behind the Imam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq of making amal, wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.